Ako ang baklang bungangera, joang-jowa na hawig ni Marian Rivera. Ako si Jan Treswa Matres.
At ako naman ang cloud chaser ng Pilipinas, Julia B. Nene. At ito ang
Kanto Chismis News Update.
teritoryo ng Pilipinas, sinasakop na ng China. I-chismis mo na, Janet Tres, Wamatres.
Salamat, Kachismis Julia B. Inene. Kanto Chismis. Maituturing ng pananakop sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas ang ginawa ng China sa paglalagay ng anti-ship cruise missiles at surface-to-air missiles sa tatlong outpost nito sa Spratlys. Nabatid na batay sa US intelligence reports, nakapasto na umano ang naturang mga missiles sa Zamora Reef, Kagitingan Reef at Panganiban Reef. Sa puntong ito, iginiit ni Caloocan City Representative Edgar Iris na magpasaklolo na ang bansa sa Estados Unidos para maintuna ang kapangasan ng China. Una nang naglagay ang China ng military jamming equipment at monumento sa mga reclaimed na isla. Kinalampag din ni Magdalo Representative Gary Alejano ang administrasyon sa pananahimik nito sa walang tigil na pangimasok ng China sa bansa. Sinabi naman ni Senator Trillanes na dapat pa ring igiit ng gobyerno ang panalo ng bansa sa arbitral tribunal at magsagawa na ng Regional Security Summit para itaas ang international awareness tungkol sa nangyayari sa West Philippine Sea. Dapat ding hikayatin ang malayong paglalayag ng mga sasakyang pandagat ng Amerika at iba pang kakamping bansa ng Pilipinas. Balikan chismis sa'yo, Julia B. Inene.
So ito na nga, Janet Tres Wamatres. Siyempre, bago tayo tumungo sa ating pag-uusapan dito sa buong student forum na ito, atin munang pag-usapan ang isang mahalagang bagay kung saan alam nating malabong hindi na mauulit-ulit. Pero at least man lang alam natin na may nagawa tayo
Para hindi lang mamatay ang issue na ito sa ating bansa.
Ito ay tungkol sa 26 na katao, lumad teachers pati na rin mga estudyante sa Cebu City na inaresto ng kapulisan na tinawag pa ngang rescue operation. Diba? Isipin mo yun, itong mga lumad teachers na ito ay pawang mga volunteer na nga lamang na nagtuturo sa mga lumad students ng walang bayad, na ang pinaglalaban lang naman nila ay ang karapatan nilang makapag-aral, pero inaaresto pa rin sila ng mga kapulisan. Ano nga naman talaga kasahol ang mga kapulisan na ito? At sa pagkakaalam ko ba, yung mga kapatid nating mga lumad ay may simple lamang na pinaglalaban, at unang-una na doon ang kanilang mga ancestral lands. Alam mo yun, parang sa atin kasi yung kayamanan na binibigay sa atin ng pamilya natin ay yung mga material na bagay, maaaring alahas, mga pera, lupa. Pero sa kanila, lupa kasi yun eh. At yung mga ancestral lands nila na yun, hindi kasi yun sa likas na yaman eh. Yun yung hinahanap-hanap ng mga malalaking kumpanya. Yun yung hinahanap-hanap ng gobyernong ito. At dahil nga ayaw sumunod ng mga lumad, dahil karapatan nila yun, lupa nila yun, pinapatay sila, kinukulong, at kung ano man, para lang mapasunod sila
Ng puwersahan.
At yun na rin ang magiging rason kung bakit may mga namamatay ng mga lumad people. At ang dami-dami ng mga kaso ganito na dahil lamang sa lupa, namamatay sila. Binabaril, kinukulong, inaabuso,
Lahat-lahat na.
Isipin mo yun, pinaglalaban mo lang yung karapatan mo pero papatayin ka ng administrasyon na to. Isang maayos na edukasyon lang, pinagkakait pa ng gobyernong ito sa mga lumad people at sa iba pang mga indigenous people na alam natin inaabuso rin. At ang nakakalungkot pa sa sitwasyong ito ay alam natin hindi lang ito nangyayari ngayon. Mga taon na, dekada na, ang dami-dami ng mga kasong ganito.
At hindi pa rin siya natatapos.
At ang nakakatawa pa, tinatawag pa itong rescue. Paano ba ito naging rescue kung papatayin mo yung mga mamamayang Pilipino, lalong-lalo na yung mga mahihirap na wala namang ginagawang masama?
Na parang ano bang kinakatakutan?
Ano bang kinakatakutan ng gobyernong ito kung maging edukado tayong lahat ng mamamayang Pilipino? Yun kasi yung ayaw nila eh. Yun yung ayaw ng gobyernong ito, na matuto tayong mga mamamayang Pilipino na lumaban kapag tinatrato na tayo na hindi tama at labag na sa ating mga karapatan. Yun kasi yung gusto nila, yun yung goal nila, na alisin lahat ng mga weapon natin bilang tao, lalo-lalo na ang edukasyon. Alam natin na sobrang laking bagay ng edukasyon bilang isang tao para sa ating mag-isip at gumawa ng mga desisyon sa buhay. Kaya ang lala lang talaga na kahit ito na nga lang yung kinukuha nilang source of education, yung mga volunteer lumad teachers na lang,
Kinukulong at pinapatay pa nila.
yun lamang po ang aking balita. At ako nga pala ulit si Julia Binene, nagpapaalalang magpabakuna ka para mabuhay ka at magparehistro para mabuhay naman ang iba. Ito ang
Kanto Chismis News Update!
Love stories.
Ngayong gabi, ating tunghayan ang kwento ni Dr. Jose Rizal bago siya mamatay. Isinin nito ng kapatid niyang si Maria nang matunghayan ang diary nito sa gilid ng lampara. Masaya naman ang buhay namin, Mama Dudut. Mayaman kami dahil miyembro ng PhilHealth ang tatay namin. Kaya naman, may kiniklaim siya mula sa ninakaw na 15 bilyong piso. Maria, may space ka pa ba dyan sa bag mo?
Ha? Bakit?
Kasi itong pinabaon ni Papa, 500,000 pesos cash. Hindi ko naman ito magagamit dahil mamamatay lang rin naman ako sa Disyembre 30, 18, 76.
Wala eh. Sunugin mo na lang.
Ha? Okay.
Tanga. Sinunog mo talaga?
Kaysa naman makuha ng iba. Hindi ko papayagang mapunta sa mga hampas lupa ang pera ng pamilya natin. At ngayong huling araw ko sa mundong ito, nare-realize ako na ang dami ko talagang mamimiss sa buhay ko. Ito ay sina Segunda, Leonor, Susan, at ang number 1 sa puso ko na si Josephine Braken. Kaya naman, tinatawag ko na lang kay Trinidad itong mga babaeng to. At para masabihan silang mamamatay na ako.
Grabe naman. Mamamatay na nga ang kapatid ko. Hindi man lang makakadalo ang mga mahal niya sa buhay. Tawagan ko nga.
Hello? Who's this?
Hello? Kamusta ka naman? Si ano to? Si Trinidad Mercado. Gusto ko lang sanang sabihin sa'yo na mamamatay na si Pepe.
Ha? Ano? Yung first love ko? Hindi. Hindi ito pwede. Hindi ito totoo.
Grabe, tinodo niya na. Sadness talaga siya. Teka nga, tawagan ko naman yung isa. Hello? Is this Josephine Braken?
Speaking. Who's speaking on the line? I'm so busy, Diyos mio.
Ako to, si Trinidad Mercado. Ako yung kapatid ni Pepe. Mamamatay na kasi siya bukas. Grabe naman siya. Nalulungkot siguro siya. Sana naman umuwi na sila dito.
So, ayun na nga. Ilang minuto na lang mamamatay na ako. Sana man lang nakapagpindot ako ng emergency bell sa school nung face-to-face pa. Hindi tuloy kumpleto ang high school memories ko.
Hoy! Bawal daw pong i-execute pag walang face shield.
Ha? Mamamatay na lang ako? Kailangan pa ng face shield?
Balik ka na lang doon. Bili ka ng face shield mo.
Tsaka naman ito, base sa mga scientific findings, hindi naman effective ang face shield na yan. Pero sige, makabili na nga lang para mamatay na ako.
Okay, pwede ka nang barilin. Fuego!
Aray! At doon na nga, natapos ang buhay ng aking kapatid na si Pepe. Teka, naiiyak ako sa kwentong to. Tama pa ba to? Yun lamang po, nagmamahal, Maria.
Good day. It's good to see everyone in this online forum. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today. I am Julius Barreda and together with me is Grace Paro. We will be your host and moderator for today's forum. Hey Grace, can you greet everyone present on this event?
Yes, definitely. Good day, everyone. I hope everybody is doing great, and I am very happy to be part of this online forum. I would like to give everyone a rundown of our program for today. We will be hearing a brief discussion on the topic about the colorful and death of Rizal. After that, everyone in this forum will have a chance to ask questions to our speaker. Is everyone good with that?
Alright, I think everyone is ready. I would like to introduce our speaker. She is a historian, professor, and an economist. Let's give Miss Gemma Lucena our warm welcome. Good morning, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Barada. Good day, everyone. Once again, I am Gemma Lozana. It's good to be part of this student forum, and I am always grateful every time I am invited to be a speaker in this kind of events because this makes our history alive. Again, thank you for having me. So, Jose Rizal lived a short but colorful life. He is known to be a doctor, linguist, and a poet. As we all know, he was born in Calamba, Laguna, the seventh child in a family of 11 children. After studying land surveying in the Philippines, he became aware that his mother's eyesight was failing, so he decided to specialize in ophthalmology. As we all know, Rizal wrote his two famous novels, Noli Me Tangere in 1887, which detailed the darker aspects of Spanish colonialism in the Philippines, with particular regard to the role of Catholic Church as well as the friars, and his second follow-up novel, El Filibusterismo, that was published in 1891. Politically, Rizal was a member of Filipino propaganda movement, which advocated equal rights and education for Filipinos, representation in Spanish parliament, and limits on the powers of the friars. His desire was to achieve self-government peacefully, rather than by means of a violent revolution. In 1892, Rizal returned to the Philippines, because in order to effect change, he needed to be present in the country. Although not involved in any planning or action of the revolution, he was sympathetic to its causes, and his writings helped to inflame the movement. Although supporting nonviolence, Rizal's two novels were enough to get him declared an enemy of the state. Hence, he was exiled for 4 years to Dapitan on the island of Mindanao. There, he built a hospital and a school, and it does not stop there. He also installed water supply and taught farming methods. And as an additional information, the preliminary investigation of Rizal's case began on November 20, 1896. He was then accused of being the main organizer of the revolution by having proliferated the ideas of rebellion and founding of illegal organizations. He pleaded not guilty and even wrote a manifesto appealing to the revolutionaries to discontinue the uprising. Rizal was found guilty and is sentenced to death by the firing squad. On December 28, 1896, Governor General Camilo de Polavieja signed the court decision. He later decreed that Rizal be executed by firing squad at exactly 7 a.m. of December 30. On the evening before he was to be executed, Rizal placed documents in his pockets and shoes, presuming his body would be handed to his family after the execution. His final poem, entitled Mi Ultimo Adios, was hidden in an oil lamp which was passed to his family along with his remaining few possessions and his burial requests. Another additional information that maybe most of you does not know yet is that the firing squad was consisted of 8 Filipinos armed with Remington rifles. Stationed behind them were 8 Spanish soldiers armed with Mausers, with orders to shoot any executioners who would fail to carry out his duty. Therefore, there were no other choices rather than to shoot Rizal. Did you know that only 1 live bullet was put into the rifles? The rest contained blanks. They knew of his innocence and meant to assuage any guilt. As we can remember, his execution photo includes a dog. That dog was the firing squad's mascot. After he was shot, The dog is said to run around the corpse as a soldier fired the final shot into Rizal's head, just to ensure that he was really dead. After the execution, the Spanish authorities buried him in an unmarked grave, and the papers Rizal had hidden about his person disintegrated. His sister Narcisse found a guarded graveyard with a freshly dug grave, which she knew must be Jose Rizal's, and marked the grave RPJ, her brother's initial, in reverse. After finding his body, a section of vertebrae was damaged by a bullet was retained by Rizal's family and is now on display in the Rizal Shrine in Fort Santiago, Manila. His last word echoed those of Christ consummatum est, means it is finished. As we all know, Rizal was less revolutionary than a writer who challenged the colonial status quo. Although his death was ultimately attributed to his writing, his dissenting works did have the effect of destroying Spain's hold over the Philippines. 2 years after his death, Spain lost control in the Philippines, but it wasn't until 1946 that independence was granted.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that very informative discussion on the colorful life, execution, and death of Jose Rizal. I know you have a lot of questions to our speaker right now, and just feel free to butt in to the conversation and ask your questions.
Hello, ma'am, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to ask this question. It is believed that history is a very powerful tool for peace and progress. How can history, like life of Jose Rizal, make a change, especially with our current issues?
That's a good question. I agree that history is a powerful tool for peace and progress. I think everyone believes that history reminds us of our mistake from the past. It is reminding us not to commit the same mistakes again, right? It is everyone's responsibility to learn and know history because it makes us who we are today. I hope that the death of Rizal will serve as a lesson and inspiration to everyone. In our status quo, we are facing a lot of issues on our current government. Groups and individuals speaking and pushing reforms are put under pressure by the government, just like what happened to Rizal. ABS-CBN and Rappler are the two institutions that were put under pressure for stating facts and having personal issues against the government. These news organizations were persecuted and executed just like what happened to Rizal. These news organizations and Rizal has a common denominator. They are writing stories and facts about the government. By writing facts and telling the real stories, they were silenced. We are seeing a repeat of history, and what hurts more is that the conflict is within our fellow Filipinos. May history serve as a warning for everyone that we don't need a modern-day Rizal to die before we wake up and fight. History will remember, and we must make a stand.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, let's hear another question from you guys.
Hi ma'am, this is Christine and this is my question. With our current situation right now, with all injustices we are facing, it is safe to say that history repeats itself. If Rizal is living with us today, would Rizal be branded a terrorist? With today's definition, the controversial Anti-Terrorism Act? Just like how other people fighting for equal rights were tagged.
Thank you. Indeed, we can see a repeat in history. I believe that this law will put everyone in danger. There is a big difference between terrorism and asking the government to do better. The law, which does not define incitement, poses a danger to freedom of media and freedom of expression by providing an open-ended basis for persecuting speech. The closure of ABS-CBN and the conviction of Maria Ressa and Reynaldo Santos Jr. is an indication that the current administration can do anything to silence the truth. Many people were tagged as a terrorist, and number of activist leaders were put in jail just like what happened to Rizal. The Spanish authorities who sentenced Rizal to execution at Bagong Bayan, he was a terrorist who incited the Tipunan radicals to rebellion. And we can see that if he is alive and with us today, he will also be a terrorist for the current government. So that's all for today. I hope you all guys learned something from this student forum and this panel interview. Thank you once again. I am Gemma Lucena.
Is there anybody who wants to ask question?
I guess that's it. I hope everyone learned something today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our speaker, Ma'am Gemma. Thank you very much po for sharing your knowledge and time with us today.
Good day, everyone. For us to know the reaction of our classmates about results, exile, trial, and execution, we posted on Facebook some facts about it. So, tara, tingnan natin. And this is what we posted on Facebook. Death is inevitable, but to say Rizal's strong words about dying makes a lot of sense why we need to live and die well. This was part of his letter to Mariano Ponce in 1890. One only die once, and if one does not die well, a good opportunity is lost and will not present itself again. And here are some facts about Rizal's exile, trial, and execution.
Rizal refused to sign the notification or verdict about his sentence because he's stating that he was innocent.
Rizal was arrested by the Spanish government for being subversive and for his claimed involvement in the revolt, but soon found guilty and condemned to death by the court.
A firing squad composed of 8 native Filipino soldiers shot Rizal at Bagumbayan Field.
Rizal was shot not once but twice. The first shot was fired after he said, "Consumatum est," it is finished, and the second shot was fired after the soldier checked that he was dead.
Rizal refused to be blindfolded, kneel, and shot in the back, saying that he had not been a traitor to the country or to Spain.
Rizal was buried at Paco Cemetery without a coffin.
And here are the reactions of our classmates about Rizal's exile, trial, and execution.
Ayon kay Ivy Medina, Rizal's execution created more opposition to Spanish rule. He was arrested, found guilty, and sentenced to death by firing squad because of the founding of Katipunan that he has no connection to at all. Rochelle Basco replied to her comment saying, "The firing squad who composed of 8 natives in Rizal execution are so shameless. I'm so disappointed in them." Sophie also replied to Rochelle saying, "The 8 native soldiers composed the firing squad are not shameless. It's just that they have no choice but to shoot Rizal. Behind them were 8 Spanish soldiers with Mauser rifles ready to shoot the native soldiers if they refused to shoot." Ayon naman kay Christy May, Rizal's trial became one of the most famous in Philippine history, not because he is our national hero, but because of the reason why he died. He didn't die because he's protecting himself or his family. He died because he protects all the Filipinos. Joanna May replied to Christy, saying, "This trial of Rizal is an example of mistrial."
Ayon sa comment ni Alexandra Mendoza, "Isn't it true that we were taught to despise Rizal because he opposed the Philippine Revolution? Some teachers portray him as a traitor to the revolution, despite the fact that the trial shows that Rizal was not anti-revolution, but rather advised that it be postponed until the Katipuneros had arms, funds, and support from a foreign power to see the revolution through to its successful conclusion." Meron namang reply si kay Alexis Ipo, "I didn't clearly remember how my previous teachers portrayed Rizal, but for me, we should not despise Rizal because he opposed the Philippine Revolution. Fighting this reform to avoid bloodshed until the moment he died only proves that he is a true hero." Meron na rin comment si Shekinah Sarabia Aquada, "Knowing the facts regarding Rizal's trial and execution, it is clear that when he refused to be blindfolded and persisted in facing his executioners, he was demonstrating his courage. He has just proved that he is not a traitor and that he is willing to die for his country."
Based on the fifth comment by Jeline Alburo, the death of Rizal led to the revolution of 1896. However, he also exposes up to a lot of contemporary interpretation because he died so young. Paula Grace Alcala replied to this comment, "Despite all obstacles, Rizal demonstrated the finest qualities of a Filipino in the midst of the most difficult circumstances. He battled and fought, inspiring the Katipuneros to revolt, and also because he gave a mirror to the ill colonial society that Filipinas had become. As a result of Spanish colonialism, he encouraged the independence movement." The sixth comment is from Lian Lee saying, "Rizal execution made huge headlines in the international news and took a huge blow against the Spanish government at that time. His death created a calling and awakened the pride and nationalism among the Filipinos. They did not hesitate to stand up and join the revolutionaries within weeks and the months to come."
We have here another comment from Eliza Grace Ramirez. According to her, Rizal really deserves to be one of our country's national icons because even though we didn't gain the independence and the freedom that we should have during his time, his works and actions proves that Rizal helped our country to take its first step towards independence. Faith Neri replied to her comment saying, "Yes, I agree. Jose Rizal was the first writer who died for the country, fighting for the basic human rights of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, claiming freedom of thought and expression. Indeed, he is a true hero." And for our last comment from Kayla Chicano Besa, according to her, Rizal's trial and execution was a mistake to happen. We all learned from witness accounts on how he died with honor and being honest in order for our country to attain freedom from the clutches of the Spanish regime. It makes me frustrated that Rizal faced such cruel fate.
Now, we're done reading all the reactions about Rizal's exile, trial, and execution. Most of the reaction of our classmates are opposed to what happened to Rizal. You clearly read and heard the comments that Rizal is not a traitor of our country and proved himself until his last breath. There are some comments that they learned Rizal being a traitor from school, but some of our classmates provided facts on why he is not a traitor. The comments also highlighted on how Rizal inspired the revolution and the nationalism of our country by that time. In conclusion, the trial and execution of Dr. Jose Rizal made impact to us Filipinos that until this day, his life, works, and principle have created argument and still debates by our fellow people. This proved him as an influential hero among all other heroes who have sacrificed their lives for the freedom of our country. Thank you for listening and understanding. This is the online word segment.
Good day everyone, once again I am Julius Barreda.
And I am Grace Paro.
And finally, we are now at the final segment of this student forum wherein we as the host of the event will give a brief synthesis about the discussed topic a while ago, which is the execution of Jose Rizal in connection on our current situation as Filipino citizens. So without further ado, we'll turn the time over to Miss Grace, my co-host for this event, to highlight her synthesis about the whole student forum.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Barreda. It's great to have and handle this event with you today. So with that, I would like to tackle 3 things that I've learned throughout this student forum. First on my list is that Rizal indeed worthy of the title that he had after all the things he have done for the country. As we all know, really a brave and smart Filipino leader who made a great change on majority of Filipino people's mindset and bringing hope to them without using any violence. He inspires me that there is still hope that one day we can also do what he did for our country. The second thing that I've realized is that all of these historical problems encountered in the time of Rizal is still evident in our current situation. All of injustices, specific cases such as the killings that are tolerated by the superiority of the government against the common Filipino people, and honestly, it scares me to think about all those things, especially that it's not impossible that one day we might experience being a victim of the government way of disrespecting our human rights. And from realizing all those things, I have come up with a third lesson I have learned in this student forum, which is to make a stand for our country and for our future as a Filipino citizens. I know that it might be hard for us to make a move by now, since we think that some people have different political beliefs, but I swear, if only we all unite as one in using our voice to educate one another, we can build a stronger relationship to every Filipino to build our social and historical knowledge in order for us to be fooled by the government and repeat its history itself. How about you, Mr. Barada? Care to share your insight about the whole student forum?
Yes, of course. I also have learnings in this student forum. Special thanks to our speaker a while ago. I really admire her knowledge about history and how she answered all the questions of the participants a while ago relating the topic to our current issues. So to start my synthesis to this forum, I've also learned the things that my co-host have said a while ago, and I'm not going to repeat it all once again. So in order to give concise comprehension about all the things I've learned, I'm only giving one, but I think this is the most important thing that every Filipino must know, especially nowadays in our current situation. And that is to never stop fighting for our human rights. Because human rights are basic rights that belongs to us, especially Filipino people. Simply because we are human. Human rights embody key values in our society, such as fairness, dignity, equality, and respect. It is indeed an important means of protection for us all, especially those who face abuse, neglect, and isolation. Hence, if we ever encounter cases of Filipino people who are being stripped by their human rights, we should know that we shall take an action, even in our simplest way, such as being vocal in telling and informing people about this issue, in order for us not to forget that there are people who needs help. There are Filipino people who are being oppressed by the government, and we need to take actions because we do not want that to happen to any Filipino and even to anyone in this world.
That's a good point, Mr. Barada. I hope our audience will learn a lot from this forum for today.
Great! Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here, especially to our dear speaker, Miss Gemma Lucena. Thank you again, ma'am, for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Good day, everyone. Goodbye.